In Her Kitchen is an annual class where MECA students usually work directly with immigrant chefs from In Her Presence to create international recipe videos. In Her Presence is a Portland organization that supports immigrant women to come out of the shadows and onto the stage through English language acquisition and a variety of workshops. This year, because of safety concerns amid the pandemic, we were unable to partner directly. So MECA students created their own videos based on family recipes, recipes from MECA's international faculty and staff, and recipes from Portland's immigrant restaurant community. If you're watching this program, please consider donating a ticket fee of $10 to In Her Presence to support their valuable programming for new Mainers. Donation link below. We look forward to working with In Her Presence next year and hope you enjoy this year's crop of creative videos about food, family, and tradition.
Yeah, what do you need?
So,
What's your questions? Hi, I'm Kira Bujade. I want to ask you questions. What are you asking me questions about, dear?
all right. So, today I am making manouche. It's a Lebanese dish. It's kind of like similar conceptually to pizza, except it's oil and spices on the dough instead. So I made my dough in advance, using just like flour, water, sugar, some other stuff, instant yeast, oil. Yeah, and that's it. What memory do you have associated with this recipe?
Oh, I told you, when we used to be in the mountains, we used to go to this little bakery and literally flour everywhere. And they used to give us dough and we put our fingers in it to make the dough, have holes in it. Not holes, but, the pushed in. You might make the edge and then you get za'atar and oil into it. You could buy your own or bring your own, or they might give you some. And you give it to them and they make you manouche fresh. So you make your own type of stuff. It was really fun. It's like apple picking, but in a steroid.
In a steroid way.
And we used to go do it on Sunday. It was really cool. It was a very good thing because we used to make some and bring them home and eat them with the family, with my grandparents, because my grandparents lived above us. Think of manouche as a breakfast pizza. In Lebanon, we have thyme, T-H-Y-M-E. It's a spice. It grows below the pine trees. It's a super nice smell to it. And the main ingredient in manouche is the za'atar. And za'atar is thyme. That's the name, za'atar, we call it in Arabic, but it's thyme. With sesame and whatever else, but and there's different variation. Some of them do it more red, more green, more different variation color, more black. I'm used to the black version or green version. The red usually come from Syria, or other sides of the mountains. But the neat thing about it is, one, it's like pizza, breakfast pizza, which is Mediterranean. But more important, we used to do it as kids when we used to do a fire outside and we were playing around and we built a shed or whatever. We used to, first thing, like it's a home type of thing, and now we build the fire. And we used to make manouche because it's very easy. You make the dough at home, run over and just put the za'atar on it and put it outside, and it's awesome to eat. On a metal plate or something, and you just put it on there. It's really, really awesome to eat. It could be really toasted, or you could have it still doughy, however you like it. It's olive oil. It's very Mediterranean. All the ingredients are very Mediterranean. Olive oil, olive trees grow all over the Mediterranean. Ask me, what else you have for questions, Kira?
How is food important in Lebanese culture?
Oh, we made food. We invented food. Tabbouleh, fattoush, hummus, falafel, grape leaves, baklava. The Greeks call it baklava. but it's the same. It's very, very Mediterranean. I mean, it goes centuries back. But some of the stuff like kibbeh, tabbouleh, rice with chicken are very, very Lebanese. You know, I mean, we're culturally invented a lot of some of the foods we eat. I mean, you know.
Actually, this is called lebne. It's like strained yogurt. It's like a little bit saltier. My dad likes to say that the country of Lebanon, he likes to say that they call it lebne because the country of Lebanon is like the snow on the mountains looks like the lebne. That's what he says. Which I guess he's good with history, so maybe he's right. Who knows? He lived there, I didn't.
I keep telling you, Lebanon, Lebne. It's the name of the country, Lebanon. That's in Arabic, Lebanon. Lebanon and Lebne is yogurt. Lebanon is named after yogurt, and the reason is the mountains of Lebanon stay up, snow about 8 months, 7 months of the year. Good 7 months sometimes, 5 months, 6 months at a minimum. And they're the only mountains in the Middle East that have snow. One, they're very high and have snow. I mean, we're talking 9,000, 10,000 feet high. And it's a range of 2 sets of mountains. And if you go to the eastern side of the mountains and look at them from the desert, they look very high and white. And that's where yogurt was invented anyhow. So if you think about it, it's the land of the yogurt. White mountains. So they called it Lebanon.
First piece.
It's really good.
Yeah. All right.
And it's cooked through.
Last time I tried it.
Who's next?
Me? Are you handing me?
Sure.
Off, guys. That is really good. Here, we can set it down. And the burn actually isn't that bad.
No, it isn't.
It doesn't seem that bad. How is food important, like family-wise, like connecting with other people, like?
Oh, we eat together. I mean, the meza, you know, remember when you sit down, you have all the spread food, like little platters and whatever, and it's they drink arak, which is, you know, Lebanese vodka type of thing. Not vodka, but it's a family time. Food eating. It's a community family environment type of stuff. Very much so.
This is when you play your like triumphant music in your edit, and everyone's just like smiling and eating.
I don't know,
Jimmy,
community around food, I guess.
look at that. Isn't that awesome? Oh, look at teddy bear. Looks like a teddy bear. I love it.
I love that.
It used to be that way when we were kids. All right. So, what was I saying? So,
Like.
Well, I came to Maine as an immigrant in 2001, September 8th, so right before 9/11. And I was in Japan. I was in Tokyo before, and I had a very different job. I was a magazine editor for a long time, and I came to Maine with my husband, and because he's from here, not from Maine, but he liked Maine. So we decided to live here, and I started to cook. I wrote a letter because I had no experience. I wrote a letter to Sam Hayward, who is a 4th Street restaurant chef, and he gave me a job as a pastry person. I wasn't asking for a pastry position. I was basically asking for prep cook or whatever is available for someone who's from Japan with no experience in cooking. So Sam gave me a position in the pastry department, and that's how I started to get into baking. So this recipe, I wanted to recreate this Chinese dessert in Chinatown in Yokohama, and that has a little thicker texture, but less rich, less dairy in it, and I wanted to recreate that.
Hola, mi nombre es Giselle Carrillo, yo soy de Venezuela y este es un plato que en mi país es muy típico y me encanta porque es muy tradicional en el sentido de nuestra comida, que es entre dulce y salada. Bueno, la chalupa es un plato que hay que elaborarlo en varias partes. Primero hay que hacer las cachapas, que es como una arepa de maíz, pero una arepa suave. Entonces se elaboran las cachapas y se reservan. Posteriormente se hace un guiso de pollo donde se le van a poner una cantidad de verduras como tomate, cebolla, cebollín. Entonces después viene el armado de la chalupa, que es como si uno armara una lasaña, pero en vez de tener la pasta, pues vas a usar la cachapa. Entonces tomas un molde y ahí colocas un poquito del guiso para que no se vaya a pegar, colocas las cachapas y después colocas pollo, queso mozzarella, un poquito de crema de leche y vas haciendo capas hasta que llevas la última, que terminas con cachapa, le colocas la crema de leche restante y queso parmesano. Va al horno a una temperatura de 350 grados Fahrenheit alrededor de unos 20 minutos o hasta que ustedes vean que el queso ha gratinado. Y ya, súper rico.
¿Dónde aprendiste a cocinar?
Mi familia todo le gusta cocinar, entonces realmente eso es una costumbre de la familia y siempre me gustó. La inspiración de cocinar, pues creo que eso ya realmente es algo que tienes dentro, ¿no? Independientemente de que mi mamá pues ha sido una excelente cocinera, nunca lo estudió, siempre fue una cocinera nata y eso pues ver en la casa que todo el mundo lo hacía y que lo hacía con cariño, pues eso es lo más importante, cuando tú sientes que la cocina se hace con cariño y no por obligación. Mi memoria profunda fue que la primera vez que fui a visitar a mis suegros, que mi ex esposo y yo éramos novios. Fue el primer plato que yo comí en su casa y eso pues me recuerda un momento muy bonito, ¿no? En este momento pues los venezolanos pienso que nos ha tocado difícil porque por la situación política que tenemos en el país pues hemos tenido que emigrar a muchas partes y pues la familia está toda regada por todo el mundo. Entonces, pienso que eso ha sido lo más difícil de esta pandemia, ¿no? En particular para mi caso y en el caso de mi familia.
¿Cómo se llama tu café? Públicalo ahí, públicalo.
El café se llama Pilates Coffee Bar. El café fue un proyecto hermoso, ha sido un proyecto hermoso, donde no solamente intervengo yo, sino está mi hija y mi yerno. Ellos querían que pues yo me hiciera cargo del café, esto ha sido un sueño para mí desde hace muchísimos años. Mi especialidad es la pastelería, los dulces, y el mundo del café para mí ha sido algo nuevo y súper interesante. Es un mundo súper interesante desde todo punto de vista. Sí, quiero agregar que no importa la edad que uno tenga, no importa el tiempo que te lleven las cosas en la vida, uno puede pues cambiar de profesión o de cosas que quiere hacer. Y en esta etapa de mi vida pues me siento muy contenta con lo que estoy haciendo, lo disfruto muchísimo y yo creo que eso es lo más importante, que todo lo que hago y que realizo en el café lo hago con muchísimo cariño, con mucha dedicación y que siempre trato de que las cosas salgan bien.
My name is Ling Wen Tai. I am going to show you one of my favorite dishes from home, which is Taiwan. It's called sanbeiji. It's literally translated into 3-cup chicken. It's a funny story about this is I asked my mom how to cook sanbeiji. Like, I really want to make it. And she said, it's easy. So I did it, and it was really bad. There's nothing tastes like the one I had in Taiwan or the one you cook. So I decided to keep going back to Taiwan. When I visit home, I just try to figure out how other people do it in the restaurant. So a friend of mine helped me figure out how to cook this. So this was a collaboration that we figure out the proportion. Alright, so shall I just go into making a dish? Alright, usually you're using 4 chunks of chicken thigh. I like skinless, boneless because it's easy. And 4 pieces you could cook a dish that you can share with your buddies. So 4 pieces of thigh and cut it in little pieces. And then ideally, after you cutting those chicken pieces, you put it in here and marinate it the night before. But if you couldn't marinate for a night, you can marinate for half hour. That's still totally fine too. Marinate with 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. Tablespoon, in case you guys didn't know that. So this is low sodium soy sauce that I like. It's Kim One. It's a good brand to have. You can buy it from Asian store. 2 tablespoons of rice cooking wine. And 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. So those are my favorite sort of brand and thing to use. So you use that to marinate your chicken, and I would put it into a container like this, and then you shake it, and then put it into the fridge. However long you have, an hour or overnight. So next thing we're going to prepare the major ingredient that I also really like in a lot of Taiwanese or Chinese cooking. We use ginger, green onion, and this particular dish, Thai basil, really adding a good balance with the chicken. Start with this ginger here. You're going to need roughly 4 inches, and so I'm going to just take what I need. So this is my trick that a friend that told me that you can just use a spoon to kind of peel the skin off, so it's really easy. I'm gonna just let it fly because it's outdoor. So you can see it's actually really easy. Instead of using knife can be tricky. This is just taking skin off without taking a major chunk of ginger. So next thing that we're going to do is slice the ginger really thin, because in this dish we actually want to eat the ginger instead of just cook it with just flavoring. So I'm going to cut it short. So we're going to use a knife, but be careful, fingers stay out of your way. As thin as possible. Some people are using julienne to slice it, but do the best you can. You definitely don't want to cut your finger. Safety always first. Alright, so you're going to cut the amount you like. I usually will use up the whole thing because I love ginger. Next thing is green onion. Again, another Chinese or Taiwanese cuisine, we use a lot of green onion. So this is a standard portion you will buy from the store. They 6 of them in a bundle roughly. But again, you can use it more or less based on your liking. I'm going to do the quick thing to get rid of the end of it. So you can do this many different ways. You can chop them really fine. Another way to do it to kind of make the dishes look better is I'm going to cut the long way. So create different texture, different shape, visual elements in your dishes. Alright, so another ingredient is Thai basil. It's different from the Italian basil. So what we need for this, we're just going to snip the leaf. So you're going to take all the leaf off. Don't use the dark, thick one because it's going to be too tough. So you kind of pick all the leaves. Again, as much as you like or as little as you like. Okay, so next step is you're going to start cooking. So pretending there's a big hot gas stove here, which is really nice. So this is wok, very helpful thing. This is good for stir fry. So the spatula. So wok is a good way to kind of allow you to stir things because if it's flat, hard to move things around. So when we're going to start, you're going to have your marinated chicken out from the fridge, starting with putting some oil, turn your gas stove on and put a tablespoon of sesame oil and put it into your wok. Then this wok going to be hot. Then the first step, you're going to put your chicken, pretending this is chicken, just put it in, let it cook for 4 minutes or so. So you don't want to flip it right away. You want to cook the moisture out. So for about 4 minutes or so. So when it's cooking, you could add another tablespoon of soy sauce. So tablespoon while the chicken is cooking in there. So allow the flavor of soy sauce get into the chicken. So 4 minutes. So let it cook. Then we're going to add in ginger and green onion to cook with it. The chicken 4 minutes, then I'm going to throw a bunch of thin sliced ginger and green onion, cover it, so the moisture will kind of steam the veggie and caramelize it with the heat. About 1 minute or so, then we are ready to stir a little bit. So when it cooks, stir. Then with the last step, but not least, is the basil. We keep it the last because we don't want it overcooked because it gets really dark and black. So we keep it somewhat flesh. So when it's like a minute or so with everything there, you dump this basil in here. Again, stir a little bit, spatula, then cover. So when you're done, make sure the chicken is cooked. Everything look good and smell good. Then you can scoop it up, put it on the plate, and enjoy it with your friend. All right, so I think that's that. The first time I cooked it, it was really awful. But apparently, originally, long time ago, the traditional way of cooking 3-cup chicken, literally using one of each, and it probably tastes like that. But for more contemporary, the thing's been revise and based on everybody's taste. So proportions become a little bit different. So yeah, my mom, interesting. My mom is definitely not one of the person really enjoy cooking that much. So she didn't teach me much, and that's maybe why that I'm not as good as I should. But being in this country myself, definitely learned to appreciate home cooking. So I'm cooking more now, but definitely could have do more homework to preserve dishes like this. So I need to give my friend credit because he knows that I'm coming to this. So he's totally the person decode. Really that difficult to figure out because a lot of chefs, they don't actually share how they create that taste. So it's my friend who's American, grew up here in Buffalo, New York, that helped me figure it out. So it's definitely to his credit to my home cooking. It's from a friend that helping me figure out the proportion and also the order of things to able to recreate that. Asian cooking, Chinese and Taiwanese cooking, it's a lot of multiple dishes. So this is just one, and usually the veggie for sure, sometimes with tofu, and often have a soup dish. So, and then it's family style, and always with white rice. So yeah, it's so white rice is really plain, and the things are really flavorful. In the weekend, when I'm growing up with my parents, with my sibling, brother and sister, we go out. This is one of the dishes that we often order because we love sesame oil, the flavor, the smell of it. So yeah, it's just a dish that when we go out to eat, we often order that dish. So it's connecting to being with the family. And on that note, October 1st, coming up this Thursday, is a Moon Festival, 中秋节. So it's the time that a lot of Asian culture like Chinese, Taiwanese, or Cambodian, that people get together and eating moon cake and just appreciate moon. So to me, it's definitely this idea appreciate nature and also just kind of honor family get together. So yeah, it's really about the sense of family and community. So that's my memory connected to this dish. My family are actually don't have a lot of money, and so but food is one thing that my parents never hesitate to have a meal that is fulfilling, it's balanced. So, we can wear clothes that is hand-me-down or torn apart, but food is something that they never really try to shy or gain less. So we always have plenty of food and always have a leftover. So that means you are full and plenty. So yeah, definitely food is a symbol of sort of nurturing your body and then yeah, so it's definitely really important for Asian culture specific, but in general, but for my family, definitely it's a very big part of it because my family would drive around to just kind of find the place that they like. And yeah, so it's a big event when we have opportunity to go out to eat. It's definitely a celebration. So my family in Taiwan, they never mail me a care package in a box, right? Because I've been here a long time, so they said, oh, you guys got everything. But because it's so worried about us in the United States with coronavirus. And Taiwan, by the way, is doing really well controlling. So, and they receive news about how many cases here. So they actually mail a box of face masks. And just to share, to make sure that I can share with people that I know and need it. So yeah, that was a surprise because they think we have everything here, and they don't think they have better things than here. So but they also know that here we need a mask, and there's lots of cases. So that in that way, definitely more connection and just. In the U.S. itself, I do have friends that we do reaching out more and doing Google Meet, so they are not isolated. So we definitely try to connect with them, make sure they're okay. Before we just think that it's okay. So yeah, definitely a lot of friends that we don't normally talk. That I just want to make sure they're okay in New York or different things. So yeah, I do feel like although physically far apart, but it reconnect. people in a way.
Talking about how food is it's so like universally like comforting to everyone, and while we were talking, it's just like it doesn't even matter like what culture the food that you're making it's from. It's kind of just like it always resonates with someone to be something of comfort, like no matter where you're from. Yeah.
But I agree with you with the whole food thing. I think food is one of those icebreakers in life, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to on a date and you want to find out the other person, you go get dinner. You know, if you go to a movie, you go get some chips and some popcorn. There's entertainment. We do snack time. Yeah, we got times of the day when we eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you. They call it breaking bread for a reason, you know? Once a week on Saturdays, my mom would make this like mix of like scrambled eggs or like Vienna sausage and whatever, and all people from the neighborhood would come to our house, and she would cut up Italian bread and put it in there. Everyone would just come to my house and fuck around and watch wrestling, and then we would beat each other up.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was in my neighborhood. Everyone from my neighborhood ate at my house.
Yeah.
My growing up, the only big difference now versus then is that now I can afford to have full pantries and all that.
Yeah.
But when I grew up, that wasn't the case. So my life did revolve around, you know, being able to ask neighbors and family. And that one time we were in Puerto Rico, my mother made me fucking walk like 3 miles just to get 2 cups of fucking rice so that we could fuck on. Yeah, you know, it's just ridiculous. The food that I had, you know, you wouldn't, you know, find it in the most expensive restaurants. Yet I now have a couple dollars in my pocket and I seek it out. You know, I eat farina in the morning, which is funny because it costs, you know, 13 cents for a bowl. That's what I find to be, you know, comforting to me. Weird. It's an odd thing. It's I can eat steak and eggs every day, which is my favorite meal, yet I don't. That's not what I want.
Kind of brings me to like the point of like it doesn't even have to be like a fully like completed meal where you're like sitting down with everyone. It can also just be like the journey of like going to go get the food and then coming back and then like the whole preparation of it and then sitting around.
The preparation was kind of the big deal, you know. In Latino cultures, you can probably figure it out in other cultures as well. It was always where the women were, and they were always, you know, talking about each other's man or whatever, and, you know, and they all kind of, you know, get together and they sort of, I don't know, they do woman stuff. I'm not even exactly sure what the fuck they do. They go in the kitchen and they talk shit. I guess, I don't know. I'll see what I can do about a recipe. I'll send it to you.
All right.
All right, girls. Talk to you later. Love you.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Right, so yeah, lakum is a Turkish flatbread that we kind of made more Spanish style. So. little rip on it, but still really delicious. Did was we roasted eggplant. We took some crushed tomatoes. We milled them together with a food mill. We seasoned it with garlic, onion powder, smoked paprika, cumin, olive oil, salt and pepper, which gives you this. So this will be the tomato sauce base. We're gonna add that to the pan. We're effectively gonna re-turn it, get it warm again. Got a little water in there to loosen it up. Throw it on the stove. So we're just going to let that kind of get warm on the stove over there. Here is a seasoned and cured chicken confit. So we put it in herbs, salt, and sugar. Let it sit overnight, and then confit it slowly in oil. Confit is a French technique. It just means cooking low and slow in its own fat or any type of fat. So oil, duck fat, chicken fat, or kind of any other fat you would like to cook a protein or anything in, really. What we want to do is there's skin in here, there's pretty much everything but bone in here, so we're going to get that nice and crispy on the stove. Give it a little oil to help out. Couple spatulas. So when you add water to anything, you want to re-season with salt and pepper. Cook this till it's nice and hot and it becomes thicker again. So we have next is pea tendrils. Wash off our lemon. You always want to wash your vegetables before you cook them, or use them to cook. We're going to reserve some of the zest. That'll be good right there. Going to season our pea tendrils. A little bit of lemon. Keep that going. We got Greek yogurt for the top of this. Vermont Creamery, super nice Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt's really good for kind of a savory additive. It's also cooling, also really rich and fatty. So start to see the edges of my sauce starting to caramelize. So right now that's nice and hot. Let that rest a little bit. Move over to our chicken confit. This takes a little while because you kind of want to render the fat, make everything nice and crispy. Let that ride. Spread it out in the pan. Make sure it's hitting all the surfaces. So next we'll move into the saucing process. So naan bread is classically vegetarian. It has usually some milk and yogurt in it as well. What we're going to do is we're going to take some of our sauce that's freshly heated, put it down. That water we used before is all evaporated and it's cooked into the sauce. So right now there's perfumes of smokiness from the paprika. Just like so, just like you would make a pizza. So this stuff looks pretty crispy. So we'll kill the heat and kind of just let it hang out there. Just to warm up the bread a little bit, we're gonna throw this in the oven. Nice and hot, so 500 degrees. As we wait, kind of set up our space for cutting and all of that. At least when cooking in this kitchen, we try and kind of clean as we go and make sure everything is as sanitary as possible, especially with, COVID and all that kind of stuff. So our bread out. Our naan's gonna be a little bit crispy. Okay. We're gonna take our duck confit. So that'll be our next layer of flavor here. So you can use pea shoots, arugula, kale if you'd like. Any or all the kind of earthy veg work the same. And get the duck or chicken confit. Put that on your flatbread like so. Nice healthy portion of chicken on there. A little lemon zest. Kind of using my hand as a shaker. And with Greek yogurt. We'll just do little dollops of Greek yogurt all the way around. Kind of think about each slice. We cut it into 4. Kind of have 1 dollop on each slice. Alright. And that. There for a little crunch. And that is our Spanish style locomotion. And we will cut and serve. And I believe that's it for me. I learned this recipe actually in Portland when I moved here about 4 years ago. But yeah, I mean, everything about it was super rustic. We had a wood-fired grill, so we kind of charred all the eggplant on the grill, which gave it that smokiness. We added a lot of huge flavors, paprika and cumin, garlic to that sauce. When you eat this, it's, the textures are so, every side of the scale, which is super nice.
You see that?
Yep.
All right.
Potatoes. Oh, flour. I forgot the flour. That's right. An onion, right?
The baking powder just to kind of solidify it.
Yeah, right. And salt and vegetable oil for frying, right? And an egg, right?
Right. So we've made them together a lot of times, right, Mom?
Oh, yeah. I used to enjoy that. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So the trick really is some people grate it in the Cuisinart and it gets kind of mushy.
We used to rub it.
But what my mom is talking about is you take a hand grater and you use the hand grater and you grate it like that and it comes out into little kind of strips.
Potatoes are rougher.
My mom is a first-generation American, okay? All her parents, wait, was your mom?
My mom was very little when she came here.
But why don't you tell where your parents are from? Where are your parents from?
Poland. They're both Polish. All my background is Polish. They came from Poland.
And what happened when they got here? How did they get here?
Well, my grandparents didn't speak comfortably with me, so I never really could speak to my grandparents who lived in the Lower East Side of New York. But my mom never really talked much about how it happened. She had 3 sisters, and they all came over together. And it was just a freedom for them to come to this country and be with their parents. But they lived a very tight, very difficult life down there. And then my father came, he was 18, he escaped from going into service in the First World War. So he came here and he had to have a place to live. And when you're a foreigner, you look for people who speak the same language, who come from the same kind of place that you come from. And he found this Polish family, which was my mother's family, and they of course needed the money, so he slept in the living room. They put up a bed for him, and he lived there, and that's how he met my mom. And from that time on, they were a pair. But that's the way the immigration was in those days. It's very different today, of course, but.
My mother is a wonderful, wonderful mother. She wasn't a fabulous cook, but she could really make latkes, and she taught me how to make them, right, Mom?
I learned that from my mama.
Right, and do you guys know when you eat latkes?
No, tell us.
No, not at all.
Nobody knows what holiday the latkes.
I was saving all the thunder for you, Mom.
Okay, so it's Hanukkah. And that's our non-Jewish dad over there. He's Catholic, but he likes hush. But you love my latkes, right, Jimmy?
They're okay. They're a little greasy.
Okay. The whole point of latkes is that they're made with oil, because the story of Hanukkah has to do with the oil. Ma, why don't you tell that story?
Well, the story of Hanukkah is because people were chased away from where they wanted to be, and so they found the best way they could live decently, and they found the one thing they could find were these potatoes, and they made. I'll tell them the story.
Don't you remember the miracle of the 8 nights, Mom?
Mom, just tell the story of Hanukkah so we can talk about latkes, please.
Okay. The point of Hanukkah is that they were in the temple, and it was their place of protection from the siege, from the people who were trying to murder them, and they only had enough oil for the lamps for one night. But the miracle of Hanukkah is that the oil lasted for 8 nights. Okay, and that's why there are 8 nights of Hanukkah. That's why there are 8 candles. And then there's the middle candle called the shamus, which is the candle that you use to light all the other candles. So a lot of the food around Hanukkah is based on oil and things that are fried in oil. That's the story, Mom.
Hello, and welcome to Snacking with Nick. I am Nick, and this is my son Applebee's Bar and Grill menu. He is my son, and also our producer for this show. Sadly, this is a vaguely serious video, so he will not be joining us today, even though he's a very good cook. I love you, my son. I'll see you later. Now, today I will be making lab, which is a meat salad, basically, from Laos. It's kind of similar to like a tuna fish salad or something like that, but it has a lot of fresh spices and herbs, and it's usually made with beef, pork, or chicken. Sometimes it's raw, but not a really great idea because of diseases. We all like diseases, no we don't. So I will be making it with pork, and to go with it is sticky rice. It is not cooked yet, but what I have done is I have soaked it overnight and rinsed it a couple times to kind of get all that starchy flavor out. And then we will go put it in a bamboo basket. See here, lovely, look at it, have fun. And it will be steaming over that. So, now let's get started. So, we will start by taking our steak, our delicious steak, and we're gonna sear it because we don't have a grill. Normally you'd grill this, but I am only a college student and I do not have a grill. So you take your steak, wow, this is thick, and put it into the pan. This is not gonna fit. Oh, it did, cool. And we're just searing. So nothing too crazy. We're not cooking it on top of this. We're not cooking it on the stove. It's just to get, you know, the char, to kind of make it look delicious. Like it has been grilled, but it actually has not. And I'm going to throw this away. So, we leave this for like a couple minutes. And let it get all that juicy, lock in those juices. And over here we have the water boiling for our rice. Almost boiling. But we'll get to that later. I think it's ready to flip. I do not have tongs. You want to do this with tongs. I do not have tongs. So we are going to find something that might be a tong adjacent. Tong adjacent. Wow. What? Ooh! Ooh! Look at that, baby! This is kind of what you want it to look like. Maybe a bit darker, but you know, this is perfect. Salt and pepper. Garlic if you want. Salt and pepper your meats always. I forgot, but always salt and pepper your meats. And both sides. Don't skip out on one side, both sides. Yeah. From here, so it's not cooked all the way, obviously, because we're just searing does not cook all the way through. No way, no. So, from here, you turn off your stove, that is very important. To take your steak, and you want to put it into an oven, probably 350. That's what I'm doing because it cooks until it's ready. And there's really no specific time because it all depends on how you want it done. You can have it, medium well, rare, well done. If you do that, you're kind of crazy, but whatever. So, whenever it's ready, it's ready. So, here we have the rice in the basket. So, sticky rice in Laos is like a staple food. Like it is basically served with everything because a lot of food from Laos is like finger foods. So instead of using normal utensils like forks and knives like the Western Hemisphere use, they really don't. Like they might use a spoon, maybe, but a lot of their foods are finger foods because sticky rice is their utensils. So from here, what we'll do, we'll take the basket and we put it over boiling water. Over boiling water, not in the water. So basically your steam, it steams, like the steam from the boiling water rises up. You can see it come through. You obviously need your top. Let this steam for 15 minutes. And yeah, cool. Ooh, hot, woo, hot. Woo. Very hot. So halfway through cooking, I did this off camera because I can. You want to take your sticky rice. After 15 minutes of cooking, you take your sticky rice and kind of you flip it so that I actually don't know. The recipe told me to. But anyways, you want to flip it and then cook it for another 5 minutes. After you're done, it should look a little something like this. See? Ooh, look at that. All the steam, all the rice. Very hot. It did just come off a boiler. We will set this aside because there is so much steam coming off of this, I feel like it might catch on fire. The fire alarm might go off. We will put this by the window. We're cutting the meat into thin strips. Ooh, look at that. Delicious. Delicious meat. Now we're gonna mince the meat. So it's just like cut it into the absolute smallest pieces you can. Like very, very small. So, now that we have all our meat minced and whatnot, we will now go to the spices. There's a lot of spices. And normally a lot of Laotian food is very spicy. And there's actually a reason for that. Since people in Laos, because Laos is, you know, it's mostly jungle, it's really hot there. So what they think, which is actually very true, scientifically, is sweat cools you down. So if you eat spicy foods, it will also cool you down, which is really cool and makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't think of it off the top of your head, but like, yeah, the reason why all their food is spicy is because they need a way to cool down, and that's a cool way to cool down, to eat spicy foods. It's not like normal spicy, like it's like hurt spicy. Like you won't be okay after you eat this spicy. But no, we can't do that because I'm not that strong. But we are gonna make that spicy. So here is what we will put all into the bowl. It is time to mix with a spoon. Because I will not use my hands because I don't want to. Look at that, baby. That looks delicious. But we ain't done yet. We gotta present this shit. So we take some of our sticky rice. That's really good. Sticky rice. Sticky rice. Put it on the side for presentation. And then take some of our flour on the side, right over here. Some bean sprouts for presentation, along with more lime leaves. Wow, and sticky rice. I cannot wait to dig in. And yes, I'm eating this on camera because that's what we do on cooking shows, apparently. Holy. Ooh! Oh, it's spicy. But damn, is it good. Like the lime really cuts the flavor of like having it spicy, but you know, the meat brings it all together. It is so good. You can now make this at home. Lob and sticky rice. Goodbye, everyone. I will now go find my son. He's escaped. Goodbye.
in the kitchen.